ignorance is bliss.
Yes, it is.
I didn't know right from wrong. I didn't know the 180. I didn't know you need to have a script. I didn't know how to pull things out of actors. I just knew that I was doing what I love to do. But the one thing people will tell you, for everybody who wants to do films or whatever you want to do, they will tell you to just start.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
True. Like, go pick up a camera, go shoot. But they never tell you to make sure you learn from your mistakes that you're about to make. For me, when it comes to being a director, I have to make sure that my actors can trust me just like I can trust them.
How do you go about finding funding?
Great question. A good amount of times for a lot of us is out of pocket.
Okay.
It is.
Sounds expensive.
Very. Depending on the film. So that's why you see a lot of people make shorter films, because sometimes majority of the time is the funding. That's a big bulk of it is funding. I mean, also too, is probably just trying to write a whole lot of pages. It's kind of, but most of it is like the funding. It's great if you are able to get an investor. I've learned then the important way to do that is, or the best way to do it is really just being able to like show people what you can do.
Yeah.
So, I tell people all the time, you have to invest in yourself if you want someone else to invest in you. So that's why I say everything probably going to start with you and you coming out of your pockets for your stuff.
That's a good lesson for life.
Else, will want to invest in you. So, I think too, like doing campaigns, that's why I say the more work you put out, the more people want to like donate and help you with your stuff, because a lot of people, most people, or not, well, I'm going to say most because that's wrong, but some people want to just kind of come with their hand out, but they don't have anything to show you. And it's like, most people are not going to want to give you anything if they can't see what you've done before, So, that's kind of how I see when it comes to like funding. And depending on your job, it takes forever for you to even get up to about like $2,000-$3,000. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a while, for you to get funded.
I feel you. How much money have you needed in the past to like? How much you think a person needs to like do a short film?
That's a great question. That's also would be a hard question, because I always say it just depends on you. And so go ahead, you was about to say.
For somebody fresh,
okay,
like,
great
like
question.
Super fresh, and they ain't, you're not trying to redo a Hollywood set.
I still would say so the thing I've learned, and I'm still learning, but the one point that I've learned is resources are a great thing. I we were just talking about in the car as far as not burning bridges, right? And so if you haven't burned any bridges, or you still people that you may not talk to on a daily basis, but y'all still have a great bond or whatever, you really can save money by using your resources and people that you know. So the one thing that I've learned when it comes to writing some scripts anyway, when I first started, was trying to write for what I have. So if I already got a house, write for that house. If I got an apartment, write for my apartment. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Because then I have to really worry up too much. The most I got to worry about is probably feeding people. And depending on how new you are, you probably going to do pizza. I don't know. You know what I mean? That ain't my style no more. But it was at one point. So I don't knock it. In the beginning, that was what it was, pizza galore,
What's your favorite pizza?
Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut. Okay, I feel you.
Yeah, I don't like Papa John's.
Dang.
Horrible. That is trash.
I don't go that far. Papa John's not that bad, isn't it?
Crazy. They step it up. I would say Pizza Hut and Domino's.
Hey, Domino's came a long way.
Yes, for sure. But yeah, so it really depends on your project. Like Melanie and Kyle was $1,200.
Which is your newest?
Latest. Yeah, latest. Yeah, what the newest? Yeah, latest. And we had a record store. We had.
How'd you go about getting that location? That sounds like a cool location.
Yeah, it was. So actually, JB, shout out to JB's record store. Phenomenal. Thank you, JB. I appreciate you. You're phenomenal. You're awesome. Your store's awesome. Awesome. I met JB a while back when I think I was either working at Tassili's or I had just was like going up to Tassili's. But JB, there was this coffee shop. It was this coffee spot called 640 West. Or I think it was 640 West, but it was over by the West End. I used to go over there and like just kind of chill and get some work done. And one time, a good friend, one of my friends, Anthony, told me like, there's a record store in the back of there. And I was like, really? So I went back to the record store. It was really small. It was like a really small record store. And I had met JB and we had talked. And I remember when I first went in there, it was so small, so just like off, like standoffish. I was like, it would be dope to do like a romance at this place. Like, it's so little, it was so cute. Like two people who kind of like find love at a record store. She come looking, he worked there, and they end up like in the back of the store. So I was like, this would be dope. That was years ago. So then I finally came up with the idea for Melanie and Kyle, and I remember I was like, yo, instead, because I think originally Melanie and Kyle was gonna be at a bookstore when they meet each other, when they see each other, but I was like, I couldn't find a bookstore that I envisioned in my head, so I said, how about a record store? And I remember JB's, but at that time he had already moved, so he was no longer in that back of that place where I saw him. He had moved to a bigger store, which is like right up the street from the West End. So I went back, talked to JB, and I was like, JB, whatever, and he remembered me, and we started, talking, and he was like, you could definitely use it. So I think we used it for like, I think 2 days, if I'm not mistaken. We used JB's for, I think it was 2 days we used it for. Was not a big budget. Like, I ain't gonna tell y'all what he charged me, but it was great pricing.
Great pricing.
It was great. He worked with my budget. We still, like I said, we paid him something, but it just wasn't like hit over the head. It wasn't too hard. And then, so that was the big thing that we came out of pocket for, was that. And then I'm trying to remember all the other locations that we had. Because originally we were going to use a cafe, but the cafe that I was going to use, I'm not even going to say the name, but I would.
Go for it. Screw that cafe.
No, they never even contact. Well, they never contacted me back. Like, we kept texting them, email. They would never hit me back. So I said, whatever, it's cool.
Yeah, screw them.
It was a great place for us to use. They never responded back. So what ended up happening was everything that y'all see in Melanie and Kyle, other than, and even the record store to me was still a resource, because in the other record store, originally I was going to try to go with a record store that's in Little 5 Points. Keep it as that. Never hit me back, never responded back. And I was like, well, that probably was a sign from God if like that wasn't the best record store for you. So even the record store I stayed was still a resource, but because we didn't pay a lot, like, what I mean? But we paid, just didn't get hit over the head. But everything else was just literally the team stepping in. So like the house or the apartment that we used was Marlene's place.
Nice.
The quote unquote wasn't really a restaurant. I mean, you look clearly, you can see that it's not like a full blown crazy restaurant, but just from people who probably just glancing, you go, oh, that's a nice restaurant. It's a restaurant.
Yeah.
But that was a downstairs of her apartment, like the little I forgot it's the area clubhouse thing. We turned it into a restaurant. We put the chairs together, lights. You know what I mean? We made it that what it was, free. Then I think there's a part with them on, and I don't want to give too much, a lot of people haven't seen it yet, but there's another part with them on top of the rooftop, Marlene's rooftop, her parking lot.
Dang.
You know what I mean?
I feel
so
you.
like
Writing for what you got. Yeah.
And even with that, it was like it was just the resources, the people that were surrounded around me who was like, yo, we don't have much money, let's use this and this, like you can use this. You get what I'm saying? So that's the thing that I would tell anybody is make sure you keep great silent people around you. And know, like, before you start to step out and try to make even a $2,000 budget film, because $2,000 ain't nothing. It's not, but some people ain't.
But you can make it work.
You can make it work
with
for
your
sure.
resources.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, you could probably even just spend only like maybe $1,000 or $500 if you have great resources. So I would say that to me was a big thing. Melanie and Kyle was like $1,200, but if people look at that, a lot of people did not believe that it was only $1,200.
Definitely.
Nobody believed. They was like, "Are you serious?" I was like, "That was $1,200." Literally, even with the color and everything was like $1,200.
So how much of it did you do? Like what did you
For
do?
the
The editing,
yes.
the shooting?
So I directed it. I wrote the ending piece of it. So I did a whole kind of outline for it. I did an outline for it. I did like the character descriptions. I wrote the ending of the script. Ashani Roberts, who's an amazing person. She's an actress, but she also does poetry.
Oh, okay.
One of my good friends, Naraya, had linked us together, me and Ashani, because I told her like the idea, the vision that I wanted for Melanie and Kyle, and she was like, "Yo, I got somebody dope who do poetry. Like, I will, you should like hit her up." So I hit up Ashani, told her the idea. She was like, "I would love to write the poetry." So she wrote the poetry. I gave her a full breakdown of what I saw from Melanie and Kyle and everything I wanted for them. And so she wrote the poetry. I directed it. I did edit it.
Okay.
So I was an editor. I just wasn't the colorist, of course, and I wasn't the DP.
I feel you. Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just asking so the people listening kind of know.
Yeah.
What they can add to the gumbo and kind of bring costs down or whatever, step in where they need help. So what keeps you going? You've been doing this for a long time. So what keeps you going,
That's a great question. I would say really knowing that I have a gift that people have to see before I leave this earth. Respectfully. I truly believe that I'm very talented. And I'm not saying like a cocky or anything. I just know that I've acknowledged the gift that God has given me. So I know for a fact that this gift is going to make me wealthy, successful, whatever it is that all that it do is what it's going to be. But it's also the key thing I tell people, it makes me happy. And like we were saying previously, you know, a while back. You see my week?
So long ago.
I know. Yep. A lot of people don't know what happiness is or what makes them happy. You know, true. They think they do. They think they have an idea, but they have no idea. Or they know what makes them happy, but they're afraid to express it because they're afraid what somebody else or society is going to think about what makes them happy. So the thing that I've learned is I've learned to really be open to what makes me happy, and film makes me happy. So I was telling my uncle, because I'm not big on jobs, no offense to anybody who works, and I completely dislike 9 to 5s, and I'm to the point where I get that we got priorities, we got bills, but I'm the point where I'll be like, I'm gonna have to figure something else out. It drains. I'm very unhappy. And so the thing I told my uncle recently, I was like, I don't want to be that person who is constantly doing things that makes me unhappy because I have to do X, Y, and Z. Because I think the thing is, a lot of people in society will do things that completely make them unhappy, but only because they have no choice. Like, they have to pay a bill, or they have to whatever. Yeah. So for me, it was just like, films is what made me happy, and I have to have something that makes me happy before I leave this earth. Like, I can't be here this whole entire time unhappy, figuring it out. Because most people are just literally figuring it out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, most people are just like, they're just, what is the word? Trying to survive. Or they're just working to survive. You know what I'm saying? They're not like truly like living their life. I don't think a lot of people know what it feels like to just live and completely be happy and living and just, you know. So yeah, so for me, it makes me happy. Like, it's my happiness. Like, I can really say, like, this is something I would love to do until I'm dead and gone. So it's a happy thing for me. It's my happy place.
So what was your first step towards professional filmmaking? Like and what challenges did you face in the beginning?
Great question. So I started back in Baltimore, where I'm originally from. I didn't really want it to be a director. So to be honest, I was always, so when I was young, I used to watch a lot of like DVDs. And at that time, I mean, we grown now. We had illegal cable. I don't know if y'all know what that is, but that's back in the day.
I'm sure a lot of us know. Yes. yes.
But you know, we had the little, you know, the white cable that go through the thing. And so my cousin at the time, she, you know, knew someone who hooked us up. So we had it in my cousin's room, but I didn't have it in my room. I had DVDs, so I would always watch the same DVDs, and they would scratch, right?
Damn.
Right. So then I used to go sneak in my cousin's room, and I would watch like Friends. I used to love Friends, and so I always would mimic Phoebe. And so I remember I was never the class clown, but I was always very funny, like I am today, right?
Okay.
And so people will always be like, "Oh, you should like act, like you're mad funny," and I was like, "Oh, whatever." So I started doing it. I was like, "All right, cool. I'm just trying to see what it's about." I got my first little, I wouldn't say little, because I don't think anything I do is little.
Okay.
But, yeah, you know, I don't use the word.
Into it.
I don't use the word little anymore.
I feel you.
I just don't. I tell people, and I always tell people that too. Don't call your stuff little. It's not little. So don't say my little film or my little. It's nothing little about it. You did a lot to get it done, so it's a big deal. Make it a big deal. But at the time, I had did a short film, or it's a feature, but I did a film, and I loved it. And I was like, "But this is so much fun! Like, I get to be somebody else, and this is cool." So I did that, and I kept auditioning. And back in that time in Baltimore, it was not a lot like roads. Baltimore's not like, you know, I mean, it's probably grown now, but at the time it wasn't a lot for filming or filmmakers. Yeah. So I started doing my own thing. I was like, I'm gonna put myself in front of the camera. I'm gonna make my own scripts. Improv, because I didn't know nothing about writing, right?
Dang,
I didn't know anything about writing. And the thing I tell people, I would use my friends. Yo, I got the script. Y'all trying to, you know, I got this idea. I want to do it. Like, what's up? They're like, yeah, T. They could not act for lick. Like, I look back at them movies on YouTube. I'm like, y'all are horrible.
Yeah,
like, y'all are horrible actors. Like, y'all trash. Like, I mean, throw away trash. Like, y'all was trash. But they would do it all the time. They was with it, right? They would do my films. And the thing I tell people,
that's nice.
When I was back home, I had so much fun doing films before I moved to Atlanta. I had so much fun. Ignorance is bliss.
Yes, it is.
I didn't know right from wrong. I didn't know the 180. I didn't know you need to have a script. I didn't know how to pull things out of actors. I just knew that I was doing what I love to do with a couple of people who were my friends.
Yeah.
We were in front of the camera doing what we wanted to do. And I would just tell them, like, no, say it like this. No, say it a little like that. Move this way. I was directing. Now, not to, as people will say, the standards of being a director, right. But to me, in that time, I was directing. I was telling you what I wanted, and you were getting me what I was asking for, right? So it was so much fun. And then I was like, I really want to like do this. Like, you know, I actually like this. It makes me happy. So I went to a film school. I went to Arena Players. It's a film school. It's a theater school. Okay. I went there. I took classes. It was really great. And then I was like, I don't want to be in Baltimore. It was just too much. Baltimore at that time is not a city that really supports, or it didn't support like Atlanta supports.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't a supportive city. You know, it's not like, oh, I got your back. It was more like, how can I stop you from doing this?
Dang.
Right. It's cutthroat.
Good. That's the city or your circle?
City.
The city.
My circle was solid, and I'm still solid with a lot of them. Actually,
okay.
Like, yeah. But it's like it takes a lot, you know what I'm saying?
It takes a lot, yes.
It isn't, and of course it starts with your circle, but it is a lot of people outside of it too that matters. Like that's where we get all the funding and move money from people who, you know, are not in your circle all the time. So, so I end up moving. I got here and I was like, oh, so this is what it's like. This is a lot.
What kind of change did you see?
I saw like how to professionally write scripts.
Okay.
I saw that. I realized that aggressiveness that I had to be cut if I was going to try to be a director.
Oh, how so?
Well, so the thing I learned, I tell people, you don't have to be aggressive to get your point across, right? That's why I'm not a big fan of ADs, no shade. But first ADs anyway.
No, I feel you.
Depending on them, because I've most of them I ran into was aggressive.
They are. They have to be.
Yeah, and I get that, you know, right?
A lot of people don't like ADs on set.
They got to put their foot down. But the thing I learned, too, is like, for me, when it comes to being a director, I have to make sure that my actors can trust me just like I can trust them. I want them to be able to come to me and tell me, like, this don't even make sense. Like, because directors don't know, like, we have to really get people to see what we envision in our head. Correct, right? Yep. And so, like, when we go to these actors and we're talking to them, we're trying to get them to say whatever's on this paper, we have to make sure we're trying to put it in a way where, of course, what we see in our head, but also have them bring it to life in a way they see it as well, right? And so I had a way of being like super aggressive when I talked to people, so it wasn't more like they trust me, it was more intimidated, like they were a little scared, like I don't, you know what I mean, I don't know how to like receive this, but I'm gonna do it because you want me to, but it's kind of like I don't, you know what I mean. So I had to change a lot of that, which was easy said than done, because I was so used to that aggressiveness back home in Baltimore and being so firm. Just also, like I said, writing scripts. But the thing I learned too was I had to really learn. So I don't really say there's a right or wrong way how to do films, but I do feel like there are certain things that you should know how to do that's important, right? And so I had to learn those things. I had never went to film school to be a director, never. And when I got here, I was like, oh, I gotta go to film school. This is a lot. I didn't know this. Never went to film school. I still haven't. YouTube University, right?
You don't need no film school.
You know what I mean? And the thing I've learned, I tell people all the time, excuse me, so a lot of people would say, I want to be a DP or a videographer or whatever, because I heard it's not videographer, it's videographer, right?
Video. I thought it's the same way. You said it the same to me.
I don't know. Somebody, I heard it was corrected. I saw somebody corrected on Instagram, but whatever. Yeah. But the one thing people will tell you, for everybody who wants to do films or whatever you want to do, they will tell you to just start.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
True. Like, go pick up a camera, go shoot. But they never tell you to make sure you learn from your mistakes that you're about to make.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
and
of course.
It's true.
Yeah.
Like, nobody ever tell you, like, because here's the thing I've learned, right? And I was listening to a podcast from Denzel, and I think we've all heard it, but the one thing that he said that always sticks out with me, he said, and I gotta look, it's in my phone, but he was like, you can, don't confuse movement with progress.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what he said. Don't confuse movement with progress, because you can run around all day in circles. And a lot of us, we don't see that. We just think, oh, I'm putting out content. I'm putting out this. I'm putting out. You putting out the same stuff you've been putting out for like 5 to 7 years now. You ain't moving. You ain't doing nothing. You putting out stuff, but you putting out quantity, not quality. You get what I'm saying? And so the thing that I've learned to tell people is, yes, go pick up a camera. You have to start, but make sure you look back at what you shot, because you're going to make some mistakes.
Right.
And the only way for you to grow is to not do what you did the last time, right? So that's the thing that I learned too, was like, I wanted to put out mad films, and I was like, I just got to keep putting them out, but I didn't realize the films that I was putting out with the same stuff. I wasn't growing. You know what I mean? I just knew that I was doing some work, but you're not growing. You're in the same spot, right? And I had, at that time, I had a team, right? So I had a guy and a girl actress, a guy and a girl actor that I used to work with, right? They were great. You know, they're great people. We were solid. And they were the only 2 actors that I work with, like, often in all my films, right? So in my mind, I'm like, oh, we working, like, we.
Yeah. I know you're going. Yeah.
And I stepped out and worked with new people. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know how to talk to these people. I didn't, because in my head, I just knew that I was a beast.
Yeah.
I knew, you know what I mean? Because I had the same guy and girl in every film. But we were putting out work, you know what I mean? And I'm not going to mention, I mean, they're great family. You know, if people see my work in the past, like my older films that you can probably watch from like, you know, Undo, all those small things, they'll probably know. But back then I was like, well, we working, like we pumping. And then we all went out, did our separate thing. One had moved, the other person's out, you know, it was whatever.
Yeah.
And I started doing different films with different people. And I was like, I don't know how to really be a director. Like, I thought I did, but I was literally confusing movement with progress, you know? And so that's the thing that I would tell anybody is like, please do start. Like, the first thing to do is you do have to start, because you can want all day long. But the thing is about taking that action. But once you take that action, know that you're going to make mistakes and just learn from them. Because I'm at a point where I tell people I'm okay with making mistakes, but I want to make new mistakes, because now I'm getting out of my comfort zone.
No, I feel you. So when you started off, what resources became like the most important when you first started?
You mean as far as like just?
As far as like when we discussed writing for what you have and things like that. What parts were like the most important? Like what resources did you find yourself using the most?
Great question. It would be this. I don't know if this would say resources, but I guess it would say the same actors, same DP.
Right, I feel.
But so one of the guy actors, the only guy actor at that time that I was working with, he had an apartment out in Estelle, and we used to burn that boy in the hole. Man, we used to burn it up. I said we done ran through that apartment. Like, so many films we done ran through. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I already knew that when I wrote a script, we was gonna have that was a place I knew I had on lock, so it was going in that script. I don't care how many scripts I wrote at that time back in the day. That apartment was in there because I knew I had it, right? So that was one resource for sure. I would say, like, we had burned that apartment in a hole. Of course, when it came to like cars, they all drove, so we was like, "Yo, we need your car for this scene." Like, you know what I mean? That was really it. Like, back then, I'm gonna be honest. I thought I was doing a lot back then, but I really wasn't doing much.
I feel you. Spinning tires.
Yeah, I was just running in circles. You know what I mean? And so I didn't really have too many resources like I do now. But then I would say it was just that apartment, and then like using my friends' cars.
Yeah,
and,
I feel you.
I just had the same people I worked with, so it really wasn't like I had to put up too much money.
Yeah. So you talk about film festivals. We've talked about film festivals, and you say you still believe in them. You use them.
Absolutely.
Are there any like go-to film festivals that you use?
Yeah. So funny thing, last year, 2023, when I did Melanie and Kyle, I learned, like, one of my good friends was like, "Yo, T," because just to stay on track a little off, festivals are expensive, right?
They are
very expensive. If you do not have festivals in your budget already, good luck. When you are doing campaigns or asking for money, make sure you put festivals in that budget. People forget to do that, and they're like, "I want to do festivals," and then you get to them, and you're like, "Oh," and you find yourself finding yourself only being able to submit to like 5 because you realize that they starting off at like $50 depending on the festival, right?
That adds up.
It's true. It adds up. You'll spend $100 on like 3 festivals. You like, that's it. You know,
spend that on one,
right? And for real, you can, for real. Yeah. So the thing is, what I learned last year with Melanie and Kyle, one of my friends was like, "Yo, you better start submitting to some of them free festivals." And I was like, no good free festivals. Like, come on, when you think of free, you always think of something in it. Like, it's something. No. So I started looking at a lot of free festivals, and the first thing I started looking at Black free festivals. That was the first thing. And so I found a lot of great free festivals. I was like, I didn't know these were free. Like, this is crazy. And so I found a lot of great free festivals, and some of them were Black, some of them were not Black. But that was the first thing. Like, a lot of the festivals I've gotten selected for were like free. Some of them I did still like fun, like, you know, spent money for, but I would try to get them like early on, so they're like $18 or something like that. But of course we know. Well, I ain't gonna say of course. Some people know like the Atlanta Film Festival or Tribeca or Sundance, of course, or some of the big one, Bronze Lens or different things like that. So those are of course pricey depending on when you get them. But even some of them, like I think ABFF started like maybe 75, 50, something like that. The moment it opens up. I think Tribeca might be a little expensive. I can't remember. But festivals are very expensive. Some people don't really care for festivals that much. Yeah. To be honest, the thing I tell people when it comes to me with festivals, I say it depends on the festival. So don't get me wrong, I do love Sundance, and I do know for sure one of my films, probably the new one that I'm about to do, will get selected for Sundance. Right?
Oh, why do you think that?
One, I'm being more optimistic. But also, I feel like it's a great story. It's going to be shot really well. The only thing that it will probably lack, and I mean if for Hollywood or Sundance, is this doesn't have like an A-list actor. And that'd be the only reason why a lot of great films do not get those bigger festivals, because they're looking for somebody who's already well known. And like, I'm gonna be honest, most of our films are really great films, but because you don't have a known actor in it, it's like I don't know if I'm gonna take this, you know what I mean? But it could be shot well, story could be beautiful, but it's just no A-list, so they're not really like. And a lot of it, they say, it's who you know. It
is. Yeah.
It sucks, but it is what it is. But I'm just being optimistic because I know it's gonna be a great project, and even if it's not Sundance, it could be ABFF or Tribeca or whatever. But the thing that I do say I love about festivals is the fact that I don't really always go into festivals hoping that somebody will pick my films up or whatever. I go in there and like, because of the people that I can meet as well. Yeah. Like, you never know. Like, the thing I've learned too is like, you can have a short, go to a festival with a short, right? Meet somebody who's like, yo, I don't know you, but I just saw your work. That's phenomenal. I would love to invest in like 50, 60, 70,000 in your next project. Now you got a whole investor that you just met at a festival. Never met this person a day in your life, but because they love your work, they want to invest in your next project. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So that's another reason why when I look at festivals, I don't always just like, getting my stuff picked up is one. But for Melanie and Kyle, I had a feeling that it wouldn't be like this picked up film because it's a poetry piece. So my intentions was just like to network, to hopefully meet some great people who I can potentially use for my next project, whether it's investors, if it's just people, period. You know what I mean? People who now have seen like my film is like, yo, I'm excited to see what you do next. So when I do my campaigns, they're like, yo, I saw Melanie and Kyle at this festival. I'm for the donate because I know your stuff gonna look good. You know what I mean? So there's so many reasons to why you could do festivals. So.
Have you ever tailored your film to fit a particular festival before?
Not.
Have you thought about it?
Have not. And I don't know if I will. Like, honestly, unless I know for sure I'm gonna get selected, I ain't putting all that into it. Like,
no, I feel you. I do.
Like, I'm not like. No, don't get me wrong. I do like when ABFF do like the scenes. You ever seen that when they do like this?
I haven't.
So they do this thing where like every year. Well, I think it was the last 2 years. I don't know if they did the year before last, but they do this thing where you pick a scene from your favorite film, and whichever one that I don't know how many they pick, but I think they pick a few, and they post it on their page. But you also can get selected to get like a free whole thing to ABFF, like pass all that to ABFF. Yeah,
I think that's a great idea.
It is super dope. So I would do that because that don't really require a lot of money.
Can you just shoot a scene?
It's just a scene. Like,
so you don't have to shoot the whole thing.
You're just shooting just a quick scene. Like, people were doing like scenes from like I know somebody I know of. They did a scene from like Obsessed with Beyonce and Idris Elba when he was cheating, or she thought she was cheating. Or they did that quick scene. And they did a scene from like one girl did a scene from like Friday. It's just literally a quick scene, and then that's it. So I would do that.
I think that's a great idea.
But a whole movie, I would have to know that they put something into it.
Yeah, right. Because a lot that goes into it to just be preparing just for them. You know?
And and if I don't get selected, I would have to be able to at least be able to put it out to show my work. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it can't be a thing like, oh, you only can submit it to us, but if you don't get selected, you know what I'm saying? It's like, no, if I don't get selected, then I still should be able to like put it out to the world.
Oh, is that how they work? I am very
no. So ABFF, you can't put it out. Like, that's the only way they're going to see it. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know if some people like want you to like keep it private for a while, because some festivals you can't you can't show it nowhere like out to the public. You know what I'm saying? Until they know if they're going to select you or not. And, you know, so, like, it would have to be that thing of, like, okay, cool, but I need to know for sure, like, if you guys are not going to do anything with this, I can put it out. Like, it's not like, oh, hold on, or, you know, we're going to see. No, it's, I can put this out to show my work.
I feel you, right. Dang, man, you got a lot of power over well, I have my thoughts on film festivals. What do you think film festivals in the future would be as important, less important, more important for filmmakers?
That's a great question.
Especially like with the rise of like more digital platforms.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I think it's all on how we use it. So the thing that I learned too about festivals, this is why I say I'm learning, like, if you really not going to submit to some of the biggest festivals, just go for the networking and for who you could probably meet and who you could, because we could do a festival. You and I, we could literally set up a whole garage with a big old drop and be like, yo, put out something on Film Freeway, and we got Next Up Film Festival. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. That's all it takes. You know what I mean? So it's no guarantee that you're going to get anything out of that festival that you submitted to, but maybe a L'Oreal and then a couple eyes on it. So that's why I say when you submit to these festivals, just think of who you can possibly meet. Unless you're going to submit it to like the biggest festivals where you could possibly get a distribution or whatever. 9 times out of 10 is who you're going to meet at that festival, the connections that you're going to make, the people whose hands you're going to shake. Because unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, I'm going to say it in a good and a bad way. So unfortunately, but fortunately, a lot of it is who you know. You know what I'm saying? But I also tell people, too, you need to still know something. So don't, because a lot of people feel like, I ain't got to know nothing. Because if I know this person, I can get in the door. But then you get in the door, and now you ignorant as crap.
You right. A lot of people do have that mindset. You don't know nothing.
You don't know. Now you directing a project. You friends with this person. They got you this project to direct. But you go in there and you the worst director because you don't know nothing.
I've seen that.
So it's like, you still want to know something. It ain't always. That's why I said I don't believe it's just all in who you know. But a bulk of it is who you know. So you never know who hand you shaking and they got your next project or your next gig that's going to make you some money. Yeah. So that's why I look at festivals too. So
I feel. Okay. Festivals, huh? Next Up Film Festival. That's a good idea.
Know,
hey, yo, you thought it off top? You've been working on that.
No, it was off top. That's between you and us. You know where you got it from. Okay.
You're right though. I think people forget you can just start your own film festival though.
If I see Next Up Film Festival, I ain't seen nobody with that camera.
That's a good idea. Look at that.
I'm just Next Up is fire, right?
That's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good name too.
Let me know when you're ready to start.
I don't know how deep I am in this world, but that's a good idea though.
It is. You never know. I mean, but you got to start.
No, you're right. I
wasn't deep in this world either, and I started, and now you know,
something to think about, eh?
Just put it in the back of your dome.
You're right. What if, like, talking about Atlanta, because you said you came from Baltimore, like, what other things does Atlanta offer that you think, like, maybe, like, New York, LA doesn't offer, like, coming here specifically? Because, like, why didn't you go somewhere else? Or why aren't you somewhere else now?
Great question. You know? And 2 things I can answer that. So, I'm not anywhere else because I don't think I can afford LA or New York.
That's one good reason. I'm gonna be honest with you. You're right.
Because originally my goal was LA. When I first was living back in Baltimore.
It was mine too. I hear you.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of ours. When you first in the industry or trying to get into it, and then I was like, I'm gonna go to LA. Like, I'm gonna go to LA. I had never visited LA.
Yeah, I feel you.
Just was like, I'm gonna go because that's where everybody was, right? And so one of my friends at that time had moved here before me, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm already here." And I'm like, "Yo, we're supposed to go together, whatever." So my grandmother ended up helping me come. My grandfather, who was not my biological grandfather, but he raised me since I was like 2, so he had family here to let me live with them for a while. But nice. So yeah, my original was LA, but I didn't go because a friend had already came here, and we had talked about coming here because we were just like trying to look at like the expenses for LA and different things, and I had. At that time, some family, my grandfather's family was here. So I was like, okay, I can stay here with them. But then I actually got to go to LA for my birthday. And this was actually around COVID, which I love visiting LA. Visiting LA.
Same.
Yes. I haven't heard much positivity about LA. Like, I always hear it's so cliquey. And, that is really who you know. And it's expensive. You know what I'm saying? So I would say, I used to say I wanted to move to LA, but I truly do love living in Atlanta. Like I would start my family here. I would get married here. I would have my kids here. Well, I would have my kids back in Baltimore so they could have a Baltimore birth certificate, but then come back. But right, hey, don't judge me, baby. Don't judge me.
My bad. I was just judging, but let me stop. My
you
bad.
know, so they get at least something from mama. You know, something from mama.
I feel you. What about the accent or something? You keep them to
that's what I kept saying too. I say either way they gonna be from Georgia.
Yeah, I know, right?
The only thing it's gonna say is that birth certificate, right? But that don't even matter anymore. Where you were raised is where you from.
That's true. Yeah.
So I got here, and I was like, wow, I love it. Just the support that you get from people you don't even know.
Yeah, I feel
you know what I mean? That was always a big deal for me. New York is expensive. So I have been in New York before. Before I had moved to LA, I went to a Broadway show. It was a play on Broadway. I went with a lady who was she was like I don't know, say a mentor, but it's like a nurturing to me. You know, she's a really great person. I told her about my acting career, what I wanted to do. She had went to my church. She was going to my church at the time. And so she was like, I'll take you to a Broadway show. And I was like, okay, cool. And it was 1,001 people on one sidewalk. And that was damn Times Square. So I was like, it's crazy. But New York's expensive as well. You know, New York. And then I don't like the aggressiveness in New York. No, I probably could have fit in because at that time I was aggressive, but I think they was probably worse. And I just don't like the to this day I can't be friends with New York people like that. Like, dang. And I'm gonna not say that because that's wrong. Because I don't like when people judge me because of my horoscope.
I feel you, right? Yeah.
But I just know I could tell when a New Yorker walk past. I'm like, you from New York? Oh my god! Like, is this like, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Yes.
So those are, you know, some reasons. And then I also to answer your other question, as far as I think you said, what was it?
Just some advantages of being here in Atlanta, or
so that too. I've never actually lived in those places.
Yeah, I feel you.
I visit both. I never actually lived there to say why. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really know what it would be like living there. I just more so what I've heard. And the one thing I do know is that they're super expensive. But living here, I think just from the support that I've got from strangers. You know, I've lived in Baltimore for literally had most of my life until I was like 22. Yeah, because I left Baltimore when I was like 22.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I've been here for like 8-9 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've never had that support like I do here from strangers. People who I don't even know support me so much, you know, or just people who like I said, I lived there my whole life. My friends here have been a lot closer to me than my friends back there. My friends here have been now my family, you know. So it's more than just film as to why I would stay. It's a lot. Like, you know what I'm saying? I could really say here I have a village. So
I feel you.
Yeah.
Speaking of village and support, are there any like specific groups or organizations like here in Atlanta for filmmakers? Do you think are
yeah, I do. Crucial? I mean, so I don't really know. Well, I don't. I feel like. Yeah, like I think, and I'm saying in a sense of like confusion because people say I'm an introvert, so like I'm not always out all over the place, if that makes sense. Like when I go out, I'm like to myself. Yeah. And one of my friends just made me see that I'm an introvert. I never really thought about it or even cared for it. Honestly.
How'd they make you see it?
When we were out one time, we went to an event and he asked me, and I was like, I don't know. He was like, I think you are. And then he was telling me, and I was like, I looked at him, I was like, oh, I am. I might be. Like, I don't really say. He was like, you shy. Like, you don't say anything to me. And like, people will come up to me like, oh, you Tiara. And I'm like, hey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like, I'll go to places, and unless I know, I have to, the person who I talk to on the phone to be like, are you going? I have to see them in order for me to talk to everybody else. Like, I have to like run over there and be with them. Like, hey, you're here.
I'm the same way.
You know what I mean?
I hate networking events for
that
reason.
I know. So that's why I'm saying, like, I do think there are a lot of tools out here, resources for people for sure. I just think you gotta like dive in and go find it because they have a lot of like, you know, I know a lot of people on set ATL, which is a great place for the filmmakers to like, you know, go and show films but network. They have a thing where they do like an award show now, which is pretty cool. They have a lot, like one of my good friends, Darius and Maya, they have this thing called the Production Circle. So they just started it where it's like you literally like, they have this thing where they all go in and like a group of people will just talk about films, how they can better in films, how they can help each other in films. And it's really pretty cool. I've never been, but they tell me about it all the time. And I haven't been because it's in Decatur. I'm not going out Decatur.
That's on the opposite end.
I tell them all the time, I say, look, I love y'all as far. Y'all gonna take me home? Y'all saw the last podcast I just heard. So, y'all ain't taking me out. I'm going. So it is a lot of, that's the thing I learned. It is a lot of resources. It's more you finding them too. You know what I'm saying? Not everything's going to jump out to you.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there's a lot of resources for people when it comes to film out here, for sure.
Are there any other ones specifically that you've taken advantage of? Like ones that helped you?
That's in Atlanta.
Yes, Atlanta particularly. Yeah.
That's a great question. So I don't know if this is a organization, but I don't know if anybody ever heard like the Atlanta film location thing. It's like it's a place where you could actually like put your stuff on the page and people can find it to use the locations.
Oh, what is this like a Facebook group?
No,
or is it like a website?
It's an actual website. It's
a
a Georgia website thing. So, and that's like I said, it's not like an organization. Like I do know they have the organization for people who want to be like PAs. Like you can actually Georgia Academy.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. Heard things about it. Good. Whatever. They have that, but the one that I'm talking about is an actual website. So I don't know if it's it's not an organization, but it's like it is to me. It's a tool. It's like a resource thing.
Okay, I feel you.
But I found so many locations on there for free and for ones out of pocket. And it's literally like some of them are old because the website has been up for years, so it's a little old. But then you have newer ones. Like I found for one of my projects that actually my footage got corrupted. That's why I said something about that footage thing. I tell you, if you ain't never had your hard drive corrupt, you baby.
I haven't, but yeah. Well, no, one time, yeah, it was. Scary.
That is a difference. That is a different hurt. That's a hurt you can't explain to nobody. They got to go through it.
No, you're right.
It's a pain. And I had at least 2 to 3 projects on that, and I was
editing
one. I cried, bro. I'll tell you right now. I cried. I was in the tub crying, boy. No shower that day. I was sitting in this tub. I was gonna cry.
I feel you, man.
But a project I shot a while back that was on that hard drive, we had found a library. It was beautiful, a beautiful library. They let us use it for free. And it was in Decatur. So I found a lot, and I forgot the name. I think it's Georgia Peach something. It's something, but it's a free website. You go on there, and they're literally like people like you and your wife could put your house on there for people to actually like rent out to use for production. And so some of them, and at that time, I'm just saying, at that time, way before COVID, I used to say that I was a school student. So, sorry. Hey, it was expensive back in the day.
No, you're right. It's a lot. They changed the rates based on,
Yeah, so, back then, and I always looked like a little kitty,
You're a small lady.
Right, I always had my little backpack, so people never thought, like, oh, you in your 20s? Oh, you're not. Yeah. So, like, I'm doing a school project. Can we? And so they was like, yeah, come on. I mean, we always took great care. I'm not telling y'all to do that now. But we always took great care. Always made sure we did a spot suite, whatever. So, at that time, I was able to get, like, great locations for free. And then some I still pay out of pocket for. But it's a great tool. It's a great resource. Like I found so many people, so many locations and people who I'm still connected with from that website.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay. Good stuff. Have you noticed any change in Atlanta, like or
other than it being expensive? Okay.
Yeah. Well, there's the answer. Yeah. So Atlanta is changing, right? It's just getting more expensive. How's that affected filmmaking? Like you as a filmmaker?
So this is the thing I would say that I think eventually everything starts to change in life. Yeah, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It's nothing ever really actually stays the same, right? Even when you come with friends or whatever, it changes. It's just all how you choose to adapt to that change, or if you want to adapt to that change, right? But I think it has become very hard because we can't use that school student thing like we used to. But I think it's become really hard. But I also think that people are starting to really accept a lot of things when it comes to like filming, and I mean
like what?
So I think a lot of people now are like open to like kind of sort of helping filmmakers a little more, especially like passion project world, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think because we have like we have put I'm sorry guys,
it just started raining. Wow. Okay. Didn't even look like it out there.
No, it didn't. It's raining too hard, so it's probably gonna be an all day thing. But I think a lot of people, so I'm gonna say, be honest, people of color, Black people. Excuse me. We all know that it's always been hard for us, but it's been even harder for women. And so I feel like us now in Atlanta, we have like, because this to me, this is a very like culture city and state. To me, I think it is anyway, depending on where you go.
Right.
I feel like this, to me, this has been the biggest, for me, culture-wise, I've ever seen living. We don't really, I mean, we have culture, of course, Black people in Baltimore, but I mean, like, culture that sticks together and help, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I feel like we are showing people what we can do when it comes to films and how we can, you know, put ourselves, we're supporting each other more, working together more.
Yeah.
So I think that's been a little bit helpful, but I do think the fact that everything is going up has been the hardest part, because now it's like, which we can't be super mad at, like, people who own businesses, because it's like, if I shut my business down for your film, what am I getting? You know what I mean? But then it's like, we ain't got much to give you. You know what I mean? So it's a 50, you know, and I'm not, you know, DGA. I'm not in a DGA. I'm not, you know, in a union. Let's say that. So I don't really know how it has affected a lot of them. But for me, in the passion project world, I do know it has its ups and downs. Let me say that. So
I feel you on that. It definitely does. So you see yourself sticking at this, even with the changes. You see yourself. You at that point where it's like, hey, I got one more year in me, and then I got.
You know what? I feel like that all the time. Every day, I feel like I only got one more year. But then I always say too, I heard this quote, and I don't know who said the quote, and I'm gonna find it one day. But I always, you know, I heard this quote that says, "If you never wanted to give up, you're not working hard enough," right?
I never heard that quote. That's a good quote.
Yeah, if you never wanted to give up, you're not working hard enough. Because I truly believe that everybody at one point wanted to give up, but they couldn't, because this is what really feeds their soul. This is what makes them happy. And it's something you think about over and over and over. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's how you know something's meant for you, because you just can't get it out your head. It's all you think about. It's all you want to do. You know what I mean? It's like, even when you at work, you still think, like, I'm about to create this movie. Like, what's about to be the budget? But it's like, Tiara, get your work done. Oh, I'm sorry. Like, you know what I mean? So I truly do believe that if you never wanted to give up, you're not working hard enough. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to want to quit. At some point, it's going to get to that point where you're like, I cannot do this. This is draining. This is tiring. I'm not getting anywhere. But then it also comes with a thing of being patient and knowing that your time is your time. And the thing that I've told people, and I hope everybody understands, is that you really have to know your talent, your worth, who you are when you step into a room, right?
You do.
Because if you know who you are, then you know that you'll succeed. If you know that you're talented, then you know that you'll make it where you're trying to go. You know what I mean? So that's something I had to learn and tell myself, like, respectfully, I'm good at what I do. Let me say that. I didn't say in the sense of I'm better than anybody. I'm just saying that I am good at what I do, right? I worry about me. And so that's me saying that I'm still growing every day, right? Like, I want to grow. Like, I never want to get to a point where I stop growing, right? But I have acknowledged what I do know now, and I have acknowledged what I've done, you know? Right. And so the thing is, because I know that I'm good at what I do, I know that I have a gift, I have no choice but to succeed. But there are moments where I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm about to quit, because I'm not getting anywhere. But then it's like, you look back on years ago, and you're like, you actually got very far. You know what I mean? True. But we miss out on that. Like, we kind of, we don't think about, and one of my friends once told me this. I told him, I said, you know, because he right now he's selected for an Emmy. He DP'd a documentary, and the whole the whole documentary is selected for like 5 Emmys, right? But he didn't, like, his Bradford Youngest is his mentor, Malik Saeed. Like, he done did a whole documentary on Netflix. Like, he's really dope, right? And I'm like, he's so humble, like, but you should be, right? You should always be humble, right? But you know, I mean, like, he don't really. You know, he don't really post. You don't know, right? And he told, you know, I told him, you know, we were talking about it. He said, because I'm really not like where I really want to be, right? But then he said to me, but that's also a challenge. He said, because we get to a point in our life where we have one goal and one goal only. And because we only have that one goal, if we have not achieved that one goal yet, we don't even worry about the things that we've already done.
That's true.
So which means it's unfair. You know what I mean? It's like, you're not even acknowledging what you've done before, which has got you to where you are now. You're just worried about just one specific thing. It's like somebody, like, I want to be on a billboard. You have not acknowledged all the things that you have done that's probably got you halfway there, but because you ain't there, you ain't even accepting that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I've learned to be like, yo, everything you do starts with you. Everything. If you know that you're good, if you know that you're talented, you will succeed. Nobody can tell you nothing, because you already have made in your mind that you're good at what you do. Right. But it's gonna take some time. Nothing happens overnight. And I realize, like, I'm that person too, where I'll look at what everybody else is doing. I'm like, oh, I know, dang, bro, they got this, but you don't know what
that's tough not to do.
You know what I mean? It's easier said than done, but you have no idea where they were before they got what they got now, what their steps was, you don't know what their tears was. You have no, all you see is what's right now. You don't know what was before. They probably was 10 times worse than what you are right now, but because all you see is the right now, you just, oh, they got all of this. So I just learned to be like, just keep moving forward, because I'm successful. I mean, I'm too talented not to be successful.
True that.
So
on that note, where can people find you?
Where y'all can find me last time. My Instagram it's Tiara West. It's TIARA WEST. That is all across the board. Like I said, I don't really be on TikTok like that, but if you find me on TikTok, shoot me a holler. But yep, that's my Facebook, my Instagram, my LinkedIn, all that good stuff. So
okay, cool.
It was nice once again.
It was nice once again. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
We got to do this again.
We do. It was great.